The greatest one is the reason I'm here, and that's Mr. Sinyan Chim. I don't remember the operation name or number. There was some tomb something, but we finally, the third try, they let us go to Cambodia during the Perisbeek operation. The special forces and that had been on the land and got a lot of munitions taken care of that was being hid there because we were technically not allowed across the border from Vietnam, but they were hiding all their munitions there. And then we went in, I think, as a blocking force, more or less. I think we were like the Navy tradition to show strength. So we went up, I think there was 6 boats. The Vietnamese had to go first. We were not allowed above the first ferry crossing. So we went up. We were told this was going to be a real experience. We had special bulletproof material put around the perimeter of the boat, and we went up, and we never saw a live soul for days, but we saw a lot of bodies. So we did that. We were required to move at night. During the day it was pretty laid back. There was nothing going on in the river. We had the Vietnamese up there psyopsing, running up and down the river. They were announcing a chance for any of the Cambodians to repatriate to South Vietnam, and they would do this, do that for them. We never saw anybody take advantage of it for days, and finally one day we were going down the river and look over and a guy's running down to the river jumping like crazy, and he's got a chalkboard. Well, that's pretty unusual 100 miles from, anywhere. And so I asked my Vietnamese with me, we had one at that time, an interpreter type, what's it say? And he says, I don't know, Nell, it's in English, which was quite an experience. So I looked at it and I thought it says, please help me. It said something to that point. It's only been 40 years, 262 days ago, but anyway. So I mentioned I was on the bow. I told Mr. House, our officer in charge, what it said, and the man wanted help. And he says, let's go in and get him. And I said, I don't think this is the greatest idea because this looks too spooky to me. I think we ought to get him to come halfway at least. So therefore he said, okay. I told him to lie day, come here, both ways, Vietnamese, English. He had no problem with throwing the chalkboard up in the air and jumping in the river and flopping around. He couldn't swim a lick, but he could stay on the surface. He came out a ways. Now it's been proven to me that the man's very serious about this. There's no shooting or any noise that's unusual going on. So I had a kid next to me, Mr. Beats. I think he's from Nebraska. He was a very good swimmer. We did a lot of swimming and playing while we were there. I asked him if he'd mind jumping in and helping the man. He said no problem. He jumped in, he swam over. We had a cargo net on the bow of the boat. This is for working with special forces so they can get in and out of the mud a little easier, and we didn't have to pull them up and down and throw them, Anyway, we got him up. I asked him, what can we do for you? The exact wording is, it's a long time ago, but he said that he wanted to help us with intelligence on the Viet Cong. He told me, I remember him saying his family owned a sugar mill. He's told me that was a rice mill. Anyway, he was, the business better off family from Cambodia, but due to his eyesight, the Vietnamese, the Viet Cong, had not drafted him in their normal way. It's, you're coming with us? No. Boom, there's your brother, your sister, your mother gone. Now you're coming, right? Well, the reason they hadn't taken him because he was severely cross-eyed. He was very intelligent. In 2 minutes, I asked him, where did you learn your English? He said, I remember now, it seems European missionaries were through there in the days before the U.S. was involved. And that's where he learned his English, being, you know, as affordable as family. He did. We delivered him to an intelligence boat that was there. I think it was joint U.S.-Vietnamese type. From what I understand, or I heard at the time, the hearsay was he did give them some great intel. When we were there, they were napalmed within a few hundred yards of the river. He went back with them, and he worked for our Naval Intelligence Liaison Officers for a year. And he did go in and help his country, help us accomplish the job of removing the bad guys, the people that were oppressing the people that we were there to help. One day I'm looking in the morning and Mr. Chim had gone to lunch with Mr. Irvin, and I hope you've probably seen the report, but anyway, I read it and it was just like unbelievable. And I remembered it like yesterday, because this is something that didn't happen. No one trained you for this. This was all something you dream of happening and doing. There was no noise, there was no nothing. It was pure and simple. You saved a human life, which saved thousands and thousands of our U.S. citizens, as well as his own country and other Vietnamese. So I looked at it, so you never in this day and age get a whole lot of exciting. It's exciting, but you give a little information, you don't dump the whole bucket. So I gave a little bit. Yes, I remember, you've read the report. I did that, they came back, I came back. They gave me phone number contact. I called him up, he wasn't in. He called me back. We talked for a minute, and there was one thing I hadn't said, no one had said. And he said, how do you remember me? What made you remember me? And I says, there's quite a distinguishing feature about you. And he says, what's that? I'm severely cross-eyed. And I says, you got it. And so therefore, that was something no one knew except he and I. So I knew he was he and I was I, because he isn't cross-eyed anymore. But that is just something that makes you cry a little bit. When we did pick him up, he was skinny, scared, and shaken, which nobody would blame at all. And I gave him I think the Navy called him cranberry, it'd be a light blue work shirt. After we were reunited on the internet, he did email me a copy of the picture of his mother, and his brother. And he was wearing my shirt 3 days after I gave it to him. And he just told me minutes ago that as soon as he gets home, he's going to the base and buying a brand new one because he lost that. And his brother was killed by the people we were there to help. We get rid of or take care of the problem.